Hello, welcome to the House Music Connection podcast. I'm your host, Tony Fuel. And each week we have conversations with different artists so that we can get to know their stories, their industry insights, hear about their struggles and successes, so that we can all ultimately learn from one another and feel more connected as a house music community. Today we are connecting with Sensei, an artist out of San Francisco. And I wanted to bring Sensei on the podcast because he plays live keyboards to support other DJ sets. And I thought that was a really interesting perspective, or that he could offer an interesting perspective, because that's fairly unique. I suspect that a lot of us would like to learn more about what goes into that and what that looks like. So with that, we'll go ahead and get into the conversation. Hey there, welcome to the podcast, Sensei. It's good to have you on the show. We've been talking about this for a while, and we've been connected like virtually for a while, and it's good to connect live, even if it is still over the interwebs or whatever. But yeah, it's good to have a one-on-one conversation in real time. So that's cool. Wow. Yeah. So the first thing that I want to ask you to do is just introduce yourself briefly for those listening who may not be familiar with you, or people who are familiar with your music but may not know a whole lot about you.
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, super stoked to be on the show. So Tony, good looking out, man. Yeah, we've hollered and we've shared tracks for a minute, but it's nice to put an actual, like, I've seen your photo, but to actually connect with you on a one-on-one, super dope. Gotta love technology for that. All right, so greetings. It's usually how I start my shit. My name is Sensei. It's SEN-SEI. And I have been in San Francisco since '90, and I have been in the house music community since '91, and I produce and perform live house music. That's what I do. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I thought of you specifically, is because you do live event, you perform live when you do your shows, and not everyone does that. And so, before we get into that though, what is the story behind the hyphen in your name? I think people want to know.
Sure. So yeah, I have a very Sensei is my real legal name. I did a legal AKA switch back in, oh my God, 90. I legally dropped my first name, which is a very common first name. Sensei was my last name. And then I basically started doing research about how to make music and then put it out there into the world, like radio, physical product, vinyl, tape, all that shit. And to get credited for an artist name for who you are, you have to do, I was taught that you have to kind of register with the Library of Congress as an artist. This is in addition to like the publishing companies like ASCAP, BMI, and all the other global companies that represent artists as composers and songwriters and stuff. Anyway, I dropped the first name. I went with just the last name. Sting is a musical genius and hero of mine. Prince, genius, hero of mine. And I just kind of gravitated toward having the one name. Now, the hyphen is interesting because I also took martial arts when I was very young, and my sensei, when they read my name and said, yeah, your name is pronounced the same way, this is what it means. And I'm like, all right. So as I got older and I changed my name to just Sensei the artist, and also knowing that would be very confusing with anyone's head that goes right to martial arts, I put the hyphen in there because I wanted it to be a name and not a title. So most people will have, that are in martial arts or that are people in education, because a sensei is a teacher, not just martial arts. music. It could be math. It could be a language. And it would be Sensei, the title, as teacher, their name.
Hmm.
I don't have a teacher credential. I do like to think that I try to educate people about music and about house music. I have an obligation to live up to the name, but out of respect, I put the hyphen in there, and it's a double-edged sword. It's super cool, but it really makes things difficult, like trying to get airline tickets. Really shitty. But aside from that,
Yeah.
that's the history
Huh.
behind the hyphen.
Okay.
Make
Very
sense?
cool. Yeah,
All right.
absolutely. All right. So you mentioned that you've been in the house music community, specifically in San Francisco, since 1991. How did you discover house music and the house music scene? I mean, San Francisco is arguably one of the most influential cities in house music history, because of its deep house affiliate. It was deep
Yeah.
houses. A lot of deep house has come from San Francisco artists. What has that been like, and what more can you say about your history of being in San Francisco for that amount of time?
Sure. Great question. Some context. So I'm
Sure.
originally from Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
I'm a Gen Xer. And prior to my relocation from Bensonhurst, Brooklyn to the San Francisco Bay Area in 90, I got exposed to warehouse house music in 1989 at a place
Mm,
called Electric Warehouse. It was a bootleg underground spot, and I heard Danny Tenaglia for the first time. And
nice.
I'm like, this is cray cray. This is amazing. At that point, I was 1989. So I had known friends from Chicago who were telling me at this time, while I'm in New York, haven't been to Chicago, don't know Chicago house, but they're like, dude, Chicago's on fire for where this is coming from. I loved it. That was my first introduction. Started knowing about it, but I picked up and took the year to relocate to the San Francisco Bay Area. When I moved out here, one of the first things that I got introduced to was the underground house scene, the warehouses, the full moon parties that were thrown by the Wicked crew, as well as just
Mm,
the underground rave scene at the very onset.
mm, mm,
Simultaneously, I was also going to the nightclubs in San Francisco because they didn't suck at that time.
mm, mm.
They
Yeah.
actually had really good music, and the vibe wasn't totally shit. Um, so I was dabbling in both, which are very. I like. I don't want to say they're totally exclusive from one another, but their crossover was very limited, and
Hmm.
very different parties, very different sounds, but also that
Hmm.
kind of the overall vibe of the music at that time period.
Hmm.
And yeah, I really saw the takeoff at the beginning of the mega rave scene in the early 90s. And I fell in love with it. That community, that sound, that vibe, that big room element, or the flip side, that underground, super stealthy 50-person underground, dark and sweaty, drip, from the
Hmm.
ceiling, water from the ceiling. And it's like having that access to that was just, it shaped me as a musician. Um, being coming off of classical music and funk and jazz, as a musician, as a keyboardist, but then all of a sudden falling in love with house music since I was also really familiar with the
Hmm.
electronica scene, wave, Depeche Mode, Erasure, that synthy sound back in the 80s, which carried over into the 90s. And so that kind of was really where I shaped my flavor and my vibe, and really set my roots with house music community and the San Francisco Bay Area. It was, and that kind of included Oakland and Santa Cruz. So not just San Francisco City. You really did have
Mm.
other people coming into the area because it was cracking. It was so on fire. Oh my god,
Yeah.
blur, blur.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that whole time period, I mean, especially on the West Coast, like in these like big tech cities, there was so much economic vitality, like in the late, that mid to late 90s, especially, that people, were connecting with each other like they had never connected before. I mean, because of like technology and whatnot. I mean, and yeah, I just can imagine that that was a really exciting time. I'm from Seattle. And that's where I kind of grew up. And yeah, it's a similar story there.
Yeah.
So you said something about clubs not sucking back then. So is it safe
Yeah.
to say that you think that your opinion is that a lot of the clubs suck today?
Mm. All right. I will just be candid based off of the fact that first of all, disclaimer: I am a jaded raver.
Sure.
If you don't know what that means, look it up. Now, that being said, and also being a New Yorker, which means that I'm going to say it the way I feel it and how I'm being a straight up 100%.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time where the nightclubs were amazing. New York City,
Mm-hmm.
like Central Fly to Twilo to Limelight before it exploded, and
Mm-hmm.
um, some of those big clubs that were just awesome. And what made it awesome were the people, because the people didn't have so much baggage. They
Mm-hmm.
were there to get their dance on.
Mm-hmm.
And then anything else, first the music, dancing, second, fill in the blank for you. And
Right.
that was pretty much how it was in the 90s from my personal experience, because I had a residency with Release at San Francisco's longest running club. It's 1015 Folsom. And
Mm.
I had a residency there every Saturday night with Release for years. And that was 96, 97 through early 2000s. And you could see that as time has gone on, um, the quality of the people that are going to the clubs has gone down, in the sense that they are not really getting educated on what quality music is. Venues
Mm.
book whatever is hot now, and
Mm.
there is no investment like there used to be. Clubs used to have residents that worked with the headlining talent that would come in all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Saw that a
Yeah.
lot at Space, at Crowbar in Miami. You would have
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 residents of the venue. They opened all the time for whoever the headliner was coming in. That exchange opened up to keeping people educated about what that music was. But now, because producers are kind of carbon copy, and the great equalization of technology has made everybody a bedroom producer, you now have a flooded market with only certain people at the helm to be able to share that music with people. And the nightclub venues, they're more concerned about the bills being paid through alcohol
Mm-hmm.
sales, because at the end of the day, they're a business that's a brick and mortar place, and if you're
Mm-hmm.
not generating revenue off of alcohol, you're dead. And that so now you have to think of who's going to pay the money at club for alcohol. The house heads I know are going to eat a pill, have a beer, and just sweat on the dance floor forever. They ain't buying.
Sure. Yeah.
So when you now the people that are in the clubs, not like not event spaces that do big events like a Mighty, or a Breakout someplace up, Voodoo Lounge or something like that, where it's on its own. Does that make sense? Did I convey that properly? I think
Yeah. I
hopefully
think there's enough nuance there for sure.
yeah,
Yeah. So,
I have an
um,
opinion.
yeah. So if in that time the clubs were their job was to kind of help with educating people on the music and the scene, I guess what has replaced that then? Where do people go nowadays to find out about the culture or to, I mean, because we're kind of like constantly getting force fed from the algorithms of, YouTube or Spotify or whatever, what they think that we want to hear. And it takes them a while to like kind of discover like what we actually want. And a lot of people don't necessarily know that they like house music until they somehow stumble upon it. And I don't know, just figuring out, just trying to think of like how do we how do we educate people on the music today so that they can find it and enter the scene without having to have the algorithm help them along the way,
Sure.
I don't know.
That's an interesting question. So first and foremost, I think you get the opportunity, like every once in a while, there are going to be these one-off parties that kind of pop up at a venue that's established. I'll give you an example. Sandy Rivera, Kings of Tomorrow, just played here in San Francisco at one of the local bar nightclubs here. And
Right.
crazy, right? That venue has talent every week, but every once in a while, it pulls in a certain kind of talent that you can absolutely pinpoint and identify with a particular style. Like if I wanted to hear trance, progressive, I know that Christopher Lawrence would probably be my guy. That ain't my sound, but if that was my jam and I wanted people to be in the scene, I would seek out an event that he would be playing at. So in the world of house music, which has so many different genres to it, the algorithm, first of all, is all bullshit. You like what you like. Okay. And I mean, and
Right.
that's it. I don't let an algorithm tell me that. I'm not a lemming. That being said, so the effort is you have to find the venues, you have to find the solo events. You may not be able to find that at a regular weekly brick and mortar. Now, that's not to say that there aren't weeklies that go down that are awesome, because they're nice and small and tight, so you can actually have that community. Here's an example. My buddy Matthew Bryan, who is down in San Diego. He's got a weekly Friday night gig, air conditioned lounge in San Diego. Small spot, super dope. Small. So when people go there, they're going for the music, they're going for the vibe, they're going to connect with that community. And that's where you have to find. You have to kind of you got to put the dues in to find what you like and what you want, and people that like what you like. And they can help you and educate you. Oh, you haven't heard about this guy? Come with me. Oh, you haven't heard this mix? Let me email you the link. And we as artists, producers, are always at the challenge of and at the mercy of trying to get opportunities to perform and to play and to educate. But there are only so many weekends. There are only so many there are only so many venues. There's only so many pieces of that pie. And some stuff is just too much of an uphill battle to try to participate or get a slice of that pie. Fuck it.
Yeah. That's true.
Which is why I like the streams. I like the mix sets. I like the radio mix sets from labels that do that once a week. It lets me, I'm constantly getting new music. And then I can pick what I want, what I like.
Yeah. Have you done much have you done many performances like streaming like on Twitch or whatever?
Me personally? No.
Yeah.
No. You want to see me, you got to come see me. I'm not going to go ahead. No.
Yeah.
I've paid too many dues of like, it's not the same. If you're not there with me, it's like the difference between playing a video game and watching somebody play a video game. Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop. Don't do that.
Right.
Play the damn game.
Yeah. So we're kind of,
So no.
Well, this is a nice segue into talking about like your live performances. So, you consider yourself an artist. You're not a DJ. So when you're out doing a show, are you playing? What is it? To walk us through what that looks like or sounds like.
Easy.
Sure.
Simple. DJ setup. You're standing in front of a DJ setup. DJ setup is going to have some kind of tech combination of 2 to 3 primary delivery units. It's either going to be turntables or CDJs,
Mm-hmm.
coupled with an opportunity for their laptop. That's your tech for the primary DJ. Now, slide your shit over 4 or 5 feet. I stand right next to you. I am plugged
Mm-hmm.
right into the mixer on a free channel.
Mm-hmm.
DJ's mixer has 4 channels. I get 1. You do whatever you want with the other 3. I go in through a sub mixer. My sub mixer goes into the main mixer.
Mm.
I play live keys. I don't use a sequencer. I don't use a drum machine. I don't use anything like that. I have my
Mm.
laptop that lets me select sounds. I use Logic, my DAW, but I use it in a live mode on my laptop. And that gives me more sounds than any DJ has records.
Mm.
Granted, I don't need 60 tubas, but you get the point. So
Right.
what ends up happening here is that as the DJ, you have to have faith that I don't suck,
Right.
that I can keep time,
Yeah.
and that I can be in key,
Mm-hmm.
i.e. tune. And being able to do that, what makes me different than other people is that I do it on the fly. It's 100% improv. I do not practice. I do not have an advanced copy of the playlist. Maybe 1 or 2 tracks I may know just to have dialed in super tight. But aside from that, the set is unrehearsed. It's different every time because it's live. That's live.
Mm-hmm.
Now the
Yeah.
DJ has to basically imagine they have a 4th CDJ. They don't have control over it. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
comes out of here is like, the fuck is that? So it's tough because you also want to be super tight where people think they can't tell you're part of the record. You're live.
Mm.
But then you have to be a little bit louder and upfront and engaging with the audience. So they make the eye-ear coordination between what's happening live in front of them and what they're hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you know a record inside and out, like a DJ, and then all of a sudden you hear another element coming in on top of it that you don't recognize. Again, what is that? That's the live element. That's what I do.
Yeah.
A lot of people may call this close to what a live PA is. A live PA usually has a couple of pre-planned components.
Mm.
From what I've been taught over the years. Because I'm 100% improv, that's where I go with the full live push. So when I do my branding or I'm on a flyer or if I'm on advertisements, and I don't mind, I take a back seat or I take a secondary seat. So it's the DJ first
Mm-hmm.
with me. I support whoever I'm playing.
Got it. Okay.
Does that
So are
make
you
sense?
doing any shows? Yeah. So if Sensei is on a flyer, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's going to be in support of another DJ. It's do you ever do like a solo show or anything like that?
No.
Mm,
Why?
got it. Yeah.
Not as much fun. And doing that would require a lot of pre-planning, and that kind of just takes the fun out of it for me.
Sure.
Otherwise, I would plan it as like a full-on set live performance where it was all planned.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of DJs do that. A lot of artists will do that. That's just not something, because I'm a musician first. I'd
Mm-hmm.
rather have that. It's kind of like it ties to that jazz musician of that jam
Sure.
session at 4 a.m. where you just let
Yeah.
everybody do what they do. And that organic experience in the musical creativity right there, right then, is what I shoot for, what I tap into. That's my drug, is that ability to create, being in the pocket and then opening up my eyes or looking up and seeing an audience that gets it. Particularly the
Mm-hmm.
ones right up front, because they're the ones that see. The ones in the back are just hooting and hollering. And so when I do this, like my last gig, it was epic.
Mm-hmm.
Ramiro, Uniting Souls Music, Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We played Monkey Loft at the end of August,
Nice.
and I co-headlined with Cole Lawton from Deep Fix Recordings out of the UK. His
Sure.
first time
Yeah.
coming, like perfect example, first time playing the United States, first time meeting me in person, even though we've produced music together, we've
Yeah.
never practiced. We go into that gig and we play live together for the first time for 3 hours. And the place went
Nice.
bonkers.
Very
Bonkers.
cool.
It
Yeah.
was so
I,
dope. It
I
was
can
so
only
dope.
imagine the vibe. Yeah. Nice.
There are photos.
Yeah.
The
Doesn't
evidence
do it
is out
justice.
there.
Yeah. For sure.
It was, and there was a lot of Seattle royalty that came out from the scenes. Um, no need to name drop; they were there, and it was just
Hmm.
great to have that support from
Sure.
veterans in
Yeah.
the scene. It was really epic.
Nice. Very cool. That's good to hear. It's good to hear that the scene is still thriving, and yeah, I'm really hoping that some younger folks will catch on to it and keep the vibe alive for many more generations to
It,
come. So I think it's starting
it
to happen
takes
a little bit,
people.
but yeah.
It takes people like promoters, though, like Ramiro. Right,
Hmm.
the party I played was a monthly. So
Yeah.
there you go. He does 12 of those a year.
Hmm.
And then maybe a Christmas or a Halloween party or something special. So you're sprinkling 3, 4, 5 more events a year.
Hmm.
How much amazing talent exists out there, let alone in
Hmm.
Seattle local, that would just love to get in on the opportunity to play for that audience, because that
Right.
audience will know, oh, if it's that promoter at that venue, those people aren't going to suck. They're
Right.
going to be awesome people. And you know why? Because they're there to get their groove on first
Yeah.
and foremost.
For sure.
That's what we seek out as
Yeah.
artists, or at least that's what I do.
Yeah. It all starts with the foundation of music. And speaking
Yep.
of that, you mentioned jazz as one of your big part of your influence. Can you say more about how did you get started in music and playing music and learning jazz, and how has that evolved into your deep house productions?
Okay, I'm going to try to streamline this answer.
Sure.
It's
I know that was a
kind of
lot.
more of a little bit more of a linear thing, yeah, because it's a lot.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
here we go. 5 and a half. Mom and dad hooked me up with a little Jewish lady who taught me how to play classical piano. And she
Mm.
was ruthless in the way of teaching me the fundamentals and the basics. And you learned with classical music, nothing harder than classical. Next thing classical is
Mm.
jazz. And I played classical music from 5 to 18. Um, I was doing a lot of competitions in the classical music circuit with the Professional Teachers Association. So did one that actually made it to Carnegie Hall for the
Mm.
finalists. So I ended up playing, like on a Sunday small program, not a big thing, but still got to play
Sure.
Carnegie Hall.
No one can take that away from you. Yeah, for
No,
sure.
no, that's a feather for sure. But then while I was going to high school, still studying technical classical music, I was getting into reggae. I was getting into rock. I was getting into new wave electronica. I'm listening to everything. I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, now I'm starting to identify all of these different types of music and what the sounds are. And how do you identify them to, like, for example, reggae, that particular drum beat, or new
Hmm.
wave Depeche Mode stuff that has very saw wave, synthy wave,
Hmm.
or feedback, or classical music or jazz where you're hearing the real authentic acoustical instruments, the breath of somebody playing a horn, the impact of people's hands on a piano, the
Mm.
drums that are in this area, and participating in that as an audience member and getting all of this feedback of what these types of music is.
Hmm.
And now I'm going, I like this, I like this, I like this. Oh, I really like this. And then started to
Right.
build my own sound in playing and learning these styles. So in high school, I was in a high school band. We played
Hmm.
everything. I played from Richard Marx to Depeche Mode. I mean, like
Mm.
Billy Joel to background stuff for In Excess. It literally was a really wide spectrum.
That's cool though.
Simultaneously, my dad is introducing me to jazz, technical
Mm,
jazz, Latin jazz. My dad plays the vibes, so I started learning the vibes a little bit, and he was
mm,
very big on Cal Jada. He introduced me to the beats of Latin beats of Tito Puente,
mm,
um, Herbie Hancock on the jazz tip,
mm-hmm,
going way back. But then also getting into some of the classic stuff with, from Miles Davis to the
mm,
Scott Hamilton Quartet, a lot of from jazz classics and standards. So I played and I played around with it. I really liked it, but it wasn't my passion.
mm,
Uh, but then when I discovered house music, when I realized how people were making it, because at
mm-hmm,
this point it's 9091. And they just start like all the tech companies like Roland, Yamaha, Oberheim, Pioneer.
mm-hmm,
Everybody's starting to go down this path of really making outrageous hardware.
mm-hmm.
And then I start meeting people, and you start learning about things like a Moog organ, or a Moog
Yeah.
keyboard, or a Nord lead. And then I started like DJs fall into like shopping for records. I was getting into gear and
Mm,
sounds, and I'm like which kind of went to why be a DJ
mm,
when I have the experience of and to be able to play
mm-hmm.
and make it. And that was always that set the tone on me in 9091. And so I've been doing it ever since, really.
Nice.
From live to production from 91 to today.
Yeah. That's cool. Because when I listen to your music, it is very musical, and you can tell that there's a lot more, or a lot of. It's not fair to compare artist to artist, but like I mean, I'm just saying that like for your sound, you can tell that it's very musical. So yeah, that's cool. It's good. It's good. It's cool to know how that came to be, and why it's more musical. All right,
Yeah.
so kind of switching gears a little bit. So you've been doing this a while, and we talked a little bit about the clubs and whatnot, and you know, um, a lot of artists, kind of have like this issue with art versus commerce. It's kind of an age old, I don't know, binary. Like either you're an artist or you're a business, and you can't be both. And some people will even go so far as to say that anyone who like tries to make money from their art like is a sellout, or or whatever. So
No, fuck that.
what
I
is
don't believe that.
what's your take on that?
I do not believe in that last statement at all.
Sure.
At all. And I'll just tell you why. A painter still has to buy paint, still has to buy
Exactly. Yeah.
brushes, still has to
Yeah.
buy a canvas, still has to
Hmm.
pay rent, right?
Yeah.
And if you can make something that makes a profit
Hmm.
to help you keep doing what you want to do,
Right.
you can take that sellout comment and shove it up your ass. Not you personally. I'm just saying. I
No, I agree
no,
with that. No, I
no,
agree.
no
Yeah.
that's a cop out answer. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, the split between the artist versus the business. I hate to say it. They are hand in hand if a financial component is involved to the point where it's relevant. If you have more
Hmm.
money than God and you can afford all the gear or all your supplies or all your systems or all of the materials that you need for your art, and you do
Hmm.
it just for the sake of doing it for art and your own personal enjoyment, and you're not looking to make any money to pour back into the art, kudos, you won.
Hmm.
If you're not there,
Hmm.
and the fact of trying to make enough to pay to keep it going, the
Hmm.
break even principle is what it's called, right?
Right.
I'm not here to make a profit. I just want to break even. I believe that is really where the majority of people are.
Or
Because
where I think it's safe to like try to get there. I don't think that there's anything wrong with aspiring to like make back what you put into your art, like on a financial
why not?
basis. Yeah.
Why
I mean,
not?
Pioneer's
Why
making
not? You know
money.
what
Yeah.
I do? I make a profit. You know what I do with it? Buy more shit.
Put it right back into
Buy
your
more
art. Yeah,
sounds.
exactly.
I don't
Yeah.
put it towards a Ferrari payment. Like, what the fuck? No,
Yeah.
I do it I do it for the art. I do it for the
Hmm.
love, and I think that anybody that operates from from that principle first, if
Hmm.
that is your foundation, anything else can be tailored and customized to whatever direction and goals you have as an
Hmm.
artist, producer, whatever. And that's going to either be the same or different or a combination of the two with anybody and everybody else you engage with, be it a colleague who's doing it side by side to an audience member who is a potential person to buy your shit.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah.
Things that
Yeah.
make
That
you go,
definitely aligns with what my thoughts as well. So that's cool. All
great
right. Let's
minds.
see. Yeah. Let's see. So I want to kind of switch gears again to kind of like more mindset. So we do this for the love of it, and it's you've had some successful releases, but then sometimes there's I mean, me personally, like I've had some successful releases, and then there's some that I think that are going to do well that just nobody is
So,
interested at all. So how do you navigate the mindset that you need to like kind of stick with things and overcome like or I guess work through the valleys that are going to come along the journey?
um, I go back to my last statement. What is it that motivates you to participate in the
Hmm.
first place?
Yeah.
It's got to start there. Um, I fell into house music as a performer because I was at the right place at the right time doing something that nobody else can did do.
Mm.
Now, I built my own foundation off of that. These
Hmm.
are different times now. So it's difficult for me to kind of give advice as far as like what does it take to have the right mindset. The mindset is do it for yourself
Mm.
first. That's number one. And anything else is a bonus.
Yeah.
So
I like
if
it.
you're doing it for yourself and you like your product and you like what you've done, share it with the world as best as you see fit. Now, if you're
Hmm.
going to go ahead and play in the main producers circle, which is where where artists and producers like myself live, Tracksource, Beatport, Juno, where people, Apple Music, anywhere that people go and to go and actually purchase this type of music. Because remember, your mom is not buying house music.
Right.
She ain't. She's not. She may stream it once in a while, but she ain't buying it. So you make the music for yourself and you just keep going and you
Mm-hmm.
try to get these wins that you can. And I find that the best way to win fastest and most frequently is collaborations,
Mm.
because it's not just you, it's you and whoever else. And that combined force wins every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Every time. What happens when you put out a great track and it flies under the radar? Shitty. I have one of those going on
Mm.
right now. And it's just because it's dwarfed by another one that's getting mad love. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, that's because I really like this one and nobody's going to really get it. So what do? All right, well, fuck it.
Mm-hmm.
Back at it. Make another one. Back at it. Make another one. You just have to have that, like, I don't care. Just make the music for yourself. And if you love it, share it with people. And if you've got an opportunity to crowd test it, you have a buddy or someone that can play it at a club at night or at a gig and give you feedback, or you go and you hear it and you see how people respond to you. That's part of my actual process. Crowd testing, and get that extra wave of motivation or confidence or support from your peers in the network
Mm-hmm.
that you are learning from, that you're engaging with, that is in your community. Um, I try to learn something from everybody that I possibly can.
Mm.
Everyone, local to people all over Europe. I think my train of thought probably morphed into a whole nother direction at this point.
It's all good.
Sorry about that.
It's a natural conversation. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's organic. It's good. Yeah. Okay.
You got to keep going, man. You just can't stop.
Yeah. I like it. Okay. Cool. And just, yeah, I like that you talked about just doing it for the love and for yourself first. I think a lot of us are kind of, in that mindset as well. So I think it's always good to get that confirmation that, that we're thinking this, that we're all in it for the love of it and whatnot. So I mean, I think that anybody who's still around is
We should
definitely
be.
in it for the love of it. Yeah.
That's where it needs to start. If it start, like I said earlier, if that's your foundation, go on your journey.
Right.
Whatever works for you, where you're at, who you are, what you want to do, how you want to participate. Everybody is different. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of parallels, but then everyone at some point is going to cross over or break off. But if you're all doing it first and foremost for the love of the music because you just love the music,
right? Yeah.
Then you have that in common with a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you seek those people out, and then you start working with them.
Yeah.
And then it spiders out from there.
All right. Well, let's see. We've talked about quite a few things. So I want to talk about, we've talked about the past. I kind of want to talk about like the upcoming, the future. Do you have any upcoming projects that you're excited about that are, I don't know, that are really lighting you up right now?
Okay. So I just finished 3 tracks, and I'll give you all the info about this, right? And these 3 tracks are going to get, 2 of them are going to get shopped to a major label. I can't disclose because the label hasn't received them yet, but the package is going to be an exclusive submission for these 2 tracks, and they're fucking dope. I partnered up, in this case, like I said, I love collaborations. I do almost exclusively collaborations. And for this 2-track project, I partnered up with the artist known as Jaemus, Jaemus, unusual name. But his real name is Josh Jackson down in San Diego. This guy is super talented. The next gen of producers, like he's like late 30s, early 40s. So without dating myself too much. We worked on 2 original compositions. He got about 50% of the way, pinged me. I lit him up with material. We combined it, finished these 2 projects. One of them has got Becca Ward singing on it. And if you don't know who she is, I look her up. Goes by Becka. Wow. The voice on this chick, UK girl. Amazing. She crushed it with the lyrics, and she sang it. It's not just the vocalist. You got to be a lyricist and a vocalist if I'm going to work with you. So she knocked that out of the park. The second track, I got Marie Borson. Oh man, she'll kill me if I mispronounce that shit. French girl.
Yeah.
Right? She, amazing voice. This whole package is getting all nice put together. It's going to have a nice bow on it, and it's going to this guy before the end of this year, 2023, right? 23. With the intention of it, hopefully, something happening early Q1 of 2024. That's been my real focus, is just getting that all wrapped up and packaged. So I'm super, super excited about it because the quality of the music, it's just a quality product. And it was such a joy to work with such talented, cool people that are professional. Yeah. Oh, we're going to do this. Great.
Very
Communications on point. Great. Like lyrics. Oh, here's a deadline. Yes. I'm like, that's how you do it. Love it.
Yeah.
And that adds to like my excitement on the project too. So
Yeah.
see, I'm already
No,
geeking out. I'm like, sorry.
it's all good. No,
Okay.
it's good. So we're recording this right now at the, it's December 2023. This episode may not air for a while. So what I'll do is I'll connect with you before the episode, before
Oh yeah.
I release it. And then I can give like a quick update, or maybe you can record like a quick update or something. We'll like tack it on to the end of the episode. And
He came back and he
yeah.
said it was trash.
Oh,
And it got lost in the shuffle because like 300 tracks come out a day, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. But right on. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one big project I've got going on that is super, super pimpness. And then one other one, I'm working a lot with 3 producers. In addition to Jameis, there are 3 producers that I am working with on the regular that I have some amazing stuff coming down the pipeline in 2024. Stranger Danger, aka Dominic Flippin. He sits in Oakland, California,
Okay.
right on the other side from me. Him and I have been doing a lot of music for years now, on a lot of labels, from Delve Deeper to Jump, to Uniting Souls Music, couple of others too. And so I've got stuff coming out with him. My next one that I'm doing a lot of work with is Jason Merrill from label 4E Yanda out
He's in
of Southern
Fresno.
California.
Yeah. Isn't
He's
he
in Fresno.
Yeah.
He's amazing, dude. This guy knows beats better than anyone I've ever worked with. I don't care who you are. I know that's a tall ass statement, but the guy's a drum corps nut from back in the day. And I just started working with him about a year and a half ago, and I can't program beats for shit. He came in and I felt so schooled. Amazing. And then the last guy who I have a lot of music coming out with next year, DJ Cole Lawton. He's like the new Miguel Miggs of the UK, but he's a machine.
Yeah, he gets
like
a
this
lot. He
guy,
has a really high output. Yeah.
he just puts out stuff, and everything he touches is immediately charted and in the top 20. It's actually it's annoying. I tell him to, like, you suck, dude. So yeah, I'm starting to do a lot more stuff with Cole for that very reason. So
Yeah.
I'm super excited. So those are my three rock stars plus the Jameis project with Becca and Marie Borselin. So yeah, super stoked.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear it, and yeah, I'm looking forward to
I'll give you
seeing
dance
you
play.
evolve and get elevated and whatnot. So yeah, that'll be cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So this has been a really awesome conversation. Before we wrap up, is there anything that you want to leave listeners with that I don't know that you just want them to know about you, or just anything that you want to leave? Yeah.
Sure. This may be, I'll save the most controversial statement for my closing statement, the very last bullet point. You know what? I sign this on my emails, right? Every time I do, I send something out. I'm like, and I've kind of augmented it from its original, so it's more mine. But if you do what you love and you love what you do, people can tell. And that's the part that I wanted to add on, because it's when I get an opportunity to play and I blow my back out and my neck and my hearing, but I am just tingling from playing and just the vibe. People coming up to me afterwards and saying, I understand what you do now. That's the goal from me, from a live performance. From production, I want you to feel something, and I want to make music that doesn't sound like it's just a bunch of Lego bricks put together in a formula.
Yeah.
Not my thing. That works for some people, not for me. And in closing, as I said, I'm a Brooklynite, Gen Xer. I hate Trump. He needs to go to jail.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay, there you
I'm
go.
with you.
Yeah, because I saw him growing up in the 80s, and he was a douchebag then.
Mm,
So, my opinion, sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think,
Hope you found this entertaining.
yeah, no, it's good. It was good.
All right.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for the conversation and for sharing some of your wisdom and your insights and just your history and experience. And it's all good. Thanks for being on the show, and
Yeah,
we'll talk soon.
absolutely. Tony, thank you so much for the opportunity. This was righteous, man. Thank you. Hopefully, I kept the conversation somewhat on the rails. So, per question.
Sure, I'm sure.
Cool.
Sure, all the listeners will like it, yeah, and they'll get a lot out of it. So good. I hope you've enjoyed this content. I have a free gift for you. If you feel overwhelmed by all of the tasks that we have to complete as artists today, my release roadmap can help. You can download it at tonyfuel.com/roadmap. It's absolutely free. The tool helps clear up mental energy for creative activities because it gives you one place to manage all of your tasks related to music production, demo submissions, releases, and social media. Gain clarity and make more music today by downloading the release roadmap at tonyfuel.com/roadmap.